To date, astronomers have already discovered 8 planets, about 4,000 comets, and more than 1 million asteroids. However, the object with the curious name Oumuamua stands out as an object of particular interest in scientific circles. It is an elongated, flattened astronomical object that was discovered 6 years ago. It is currently heading somewhere out of the solar system, but we already know for sure that it is the first known celestial body to visit our star system from another unknown world. For years, astronomers have been unable to reach a consensus on what kind of object it is, an exotic type of comet or asteroid. Moreover, some of its characteristics are so strange that even the version with an alien spacecraft is considered seriously by many. So what exactly is Oumuamua? Hello? You're watching Stardust, and today we're going to talk about the most mysterious celestial body ever observed in the solar system. The story of the Oumuamua mystery began in Hawaii, where Robert Warwick, an astronomer at the University of Hawaii, accidentally discovered the object on October 19, 2017. He was using a telescope called Pan-STARRS, which scans the sky for dangerous asteroids that could potentially threaten Earth. When the astronomer spotted the new object, he immediately checked the previous night's observations and combined the results to determine the orbit of the celestial body. It turned out that this orbit was very unusual. After a series of additional observations, Warwick and his colleague Marco Maselli concluded that the trajectory of the newly discovered object indicated that it originated from outside our solar system. This discovery is historic, as it is the first time astronomers have observed an interstellar object that has passed through the solar system. Although astronomers have long predicted that interstellar objects would someday come into their field of view, none had been observed until 2017. Initially, the space guest was officially catalogued under this name, but such a historic find clearly needed a more memorable name. Therefore, it was decided to name the newly discovered object Oumuamua in Hawaiian, which roughly means the first scout from a remote place. Oumuamua first attracted the attention of astronomers when it flew near the Sun at an extraordinary speed of about 87 kilometers per second. This speed was much higher than the speed of objects within our solar system, which usually move at about 19 kilometers per second. Another clue indicating that it was a visitor from another star system was its trajectory. Oumuamua was first spotted a month after it came as close to the Sun as possible, when it was already heading out of the solar system. It flew past the Sun above the plane of the planets in a steep orbit, moving fast enough to avoid the Sun's gravity. This meant that it did not enter an orbit around our star, but made a sharp turn and continued its movement to the outer edges of the system. It also meant that we would no longer be able to see it, as the object became too small and dim for further observations. Astronomers rushed to study Oumuamua using various ground and space-based observatories, but because of its speed and size, they had very little time before it became too small and faint to study further. Nevertheless, Oumuamua flew too far from Earth to appear as anything more than a point of light, even with the largest telescopes. However, this was enough to notice how much its brightness varies. By combining the efforts of several telescopes, scientists found that its brightness periodically changes by a factor of 10. No other known asteroid or comet in our solar system exhibits the same brightness variation. This means that the shape of Oumuamua is very unusual. It is probably highly elongated. Its length should be about 10 times its width, with a complex, possibly flattened shape. By comparison, the most elongated objects we have seen to date are only 3 times as long as wide. However, the exact dimensions of Oumuamua are unknown. The NASA article states that the first interstellar object is approximately 400 meters long and 40 meters wide. Despite the large number of realistic illustrations of Oumuamua, which you may have seen in this video, astronomers have no idea what it actually looks like up close. Its elongated shape is the only thing most researchers really agree on. This feature poses a serious challenge to currently accepted models of celestial body formation. Small bodies in the solar system are supposed to have formed by collision and merger, but a long, narrow object would be vulnerable to breaking into smaller pieces in an environment where it was in an environment with many other rocky objects that naturally collide with each other. But it's not just Oumuamua's shape that has puzzled astronomers around the world. This mysterious object gave us an even greater mystery. When it left the solar system, it turned out that as it moved away from the sun, the object even began to accelerate, and every day it did so more and more. Of course, this was strange for an object that was initially thought to be an asteroid, albeit of an unusual shape. But on the other hand, it's not strange at all for an object that looks like a comet. When a comet is heated by solar radiation, jets of gas can escape from its surface and further change the motion of the celestial body. It's like a rocket engine that forms naturally in space. So, of course, something like this could have caused Oumuamua to increase its speed as it approached the sun and began to heat up more. This is indeed the most logical explanation, but there is a nuance. The celestial body does not appear to have a tail or gas cloud that forms around the comet's nucleus. Therefore, it cannot be called a comet. Astronomers simply have not seen evidence of such activity. So, is Oumuamua nothing more than an alien spacecraft? Avi Alep, a well-known theoretical physicist from Harvard University, wrote a book called Extraterrestrial, the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth, that immediately hit the bestseller list. Lep argued that Oumuamua could be seen as a possible alien spacecraft, and he scolded the astronomical community for not thinking outside the box about extraterrestrial life. According to him, the shape of the object may well correspond to the shape of the solar sail of a spaceship that is accelerated by the pressure of the starry world. Of course, most astronomers rejected this possibility. But nevertheless, many people were inspired by this idea and even tried to pick up some radio signals from Oumuamua, but in vain. So what is this thing really? In the years since the first discovery, only 3 other interstellar visitors have been spotted, and 2 of them were meteors that arrived in 2014 and 2017. It was only in 2022 that it was confirmed that they were indeed of interstellar origin due to the speed with which they entered our planet's atmosphere. However, the second such object after Oumuamua to be observed and studied was the interstellar comet Borisov. Scientists had no problems with this celestial body at all, because it really looked and behaved like any other comet. Therefore, it was not difficult for researchers to assume the origin of such a comet and how it came to us. We know that during the formation of our solar system, many icy bodies similar to Comet Borisov were ejected into the interstellar medium. The mechanism of repulsion of these small bodies is believed to be the migration of large planets. Once upon a time, Neptune probably migrated to the outer solar system, and that's where it is now. And of course, on its way, it met many small icy bodies, which, due to the planet's enormous gravity, were most likely scattered in all directions. Some icy bodies could have been thrown even beyond the solar system. Probably, Comet Borisov had a similar fate and once left its parent star system before visiting us. This mechanism of interplanetary bubbling could perfectly explain the origin of ordinary interstellar comets like Borisov. But Oumuamua is quite unusual. Nothing like it has ever been seen before, and discussions about its origin are still ongoing. According to the hydrogen space iceberg hypothesis, one popular idea about Oumuamua is that it is still a comet, but a rather unusual one. It may be partially or completely composed of molecular hydrogen, but in a solid state. This explains the strange acceleration of the object. After all, the emission of gas, i.e. hydrogen, from the surface of the object, will not be visible from the ground, i.e. it will not leave behind a visible tail, as in a comet. The only place where such a hydrogen iceberg could form would be in the cold core of a dense molecular cloud of gas. These are the same clouds that become the birthplaces of stars during gravitational perturbations. This is how molecular clouds, before forming giant hot plasma balls, are very cold inside. After all, the ultraviolet radiation of stars cannot penetrate the center of a dark, opaque cloud. These cores are also the densest regions of the interstellar medium. It is assumed that Oumuamua could have formed in a similar place. Initially, it could have been much larger in size, but as it traveled through space, it could have been heated by the radiation from the stars and eventually shrunk, losing matter. This explains its strange shape. It's like a bar of soap that was originally a large, thick block, but after a long time of use it turned into a thin, flattened slice. One confirmation of this idea is the path of Oumuamua in space before it arrived in the solar system. Astronomers tried to trace its path back and found that 45 million years ago, Oumuamua could have been in the same place as the molecular cloud. However, the main problem with the hydrogen iceberg hypothesis is the short lifespan of such an object. Even the light of stars in the coldest parts of space would heat a piece of solid hydrogen so much that such an object would simply not have time to travel from the molecular cloud to us and would completely sublimate into a gaseous state. It would not be able to travel for hundreds of millions of years without falling apart due to the radiation from the stars. Hydrogen icebergs are unlikely to live that long. Moreover, it is not clear to the galaxy how often the necessary conditions arise within cold molecular clouds to create such objects. However, inspired by the idea of a hydrogen iceberg traveling through the universe, another group of astronomers tried to investigate other types of ice that could withstand the criticism of a long journey. The astronomers proposed that Oumuamua was actually a fragment of a distant planet belonging to another star system. Once upon a time, a collision between a large asteroid and a planet could have broken it off and sent it traveling through the stellar medium. The authors of the study rightly point out that we have never seen hydrogen ice in nature before. However, we once saw the world covered with glaciers of nitrogen. It happened in 2015, when the New Horizons spacecraft passed by the previously unexplored Pluto system. When it passed by the solar system, it was very shiny, just as the surfaces of Pluto and Neptune's moon Triton are shiny, which are covered with nitrogen ice. So the idea is that the newborn Oumuamua was knocked out of a Pluto-like object that orbited a distant star about 500 million years ago. The reddish color of the interstellar object also indicates this. According to this model, by the time it entered the solar system, around 1995, Oumuamua had already lost half of its original mass due to nitrogen sublimation in cosmic rays. However, this hypothesis is often criticized, because a pure piece of nitrogen is very rare on Pluto and in the universe as a whole. In addition, there is the problem of statistics. Given that the Pan-STARRS project found one such object only 5 years after it started, this could mean that nitrogen icebergs are very common in the universe. But how? It is unlikely that our galaxy is able to produce so many exoplanets. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that we were just lucky and Oumuamua appeared at the right time in the right place. Who knows? Anyway, Oumuamua, Comet Borisov, and 2 meteors are all the interstellar objects discovered so far. However, astronomers are convinced that there may be trillions of similar space tourists. It is possible that they have been passing by us all along, but they were so fast and dim that we have not noticed them until now. It is a pity, but we will never see this object again and will not be able to study it, and therefore, we may never unravel its secrets. Of course, unless another such guest comes to our home, we can only wait. Thank you for watching, dear friends. Your kind words and support motivate me to make more and more interesting videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we have many more interesting and exciting things to share with you. See you on our space journey.